The cold during World War II didn't just chill bones, it killed. Soldiers shivered in bunkers, civilians froze in bombed-out houses, and winter seemed like a relentless enemy. But somewhere between rationed coal, frozen fields, and nightly blackouts, a simple, almost laughably humble trick emerged that warmed homes without extra firewood. Today, it sounds almost too good to be true, but it worked. And the crazy part? You can still use it now, right in your own home. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button so History's Survival Code can keep bringing you the secrets the textbooks left behind. Back then, fuel was scarce. Coal was rationed, firewood was controlled, and every flake of heat counted. People couldn't afford to burn more than what they absolutely needed. Houses were drafty, insulation was non-existent, and the winter nights didn't negotiate. They just crept in and froze everything solid. That's where ingenuity had to take over. The trick that emerged wasn't about new technology. It wasn't a gadget, a furnace, or some chemical breakthrough. It was simple, natural, and often overlooked hay. Yes, piles of dried grass. You wouldn't guess that the same stuff farmers used to feed animals could quietly turn into a heater, but it did. The principle was deceptively straightforward. Hay is dense and fibrous, meaning it traps air like a natural insulator. But the clever WWII-era method wasn't just stacking hay around a stove or using it as bedding. People discovered that when placed strategically in homes, against walls, beneath floors, or inside hollow furniture, it created tiny pockets of warm air. The air trapped inside the hay slowly circulated, forming a buffer against the brutal cold. Walls that would normally radiate frost instead held warmth. Even without a fire burning all night, the house stayed livable. In fact, in some documented cases, people could keep small apartments comfortably warm with just one modest stove and a few bundles of hay. The trick was all in placement and density. Civilians who mastered this trick didn't just survive, they thrived. They lined hay along exterior walls, behind radiators, and tucked under windowsills. Some even created makeshift hay panels to hang on walls like insulating tapestries. It sounds rustic, but it worked better than you might think. The beauty of this method wasn't just heat, it was efficiency. Every bit of wood burned was stretched further. One small stove could heat a whole room because the hay acted as a thermal battery, holding and slowly releasing warmth long after the flames died down. People didn't have to ration their sleep to the fire. They could sleep through the night, awake to a room that was not cozy but survivable. Here's why it worked. Hay is made of hollow stalks, and those hollow stalks trap air. Air is a natural insulator. When you compress hay lightly against cold walls, it forms a barrier that stops heat from escaping. Unlike modern insulation, it's flexible, lightweight, and honestly, pretty easy to stack wherever you need it. Even today, the principle is sound. Modern thermal insulation is just a high-tech version of the same idea, trapping air in tiny pockets. The difference is, hay was free, renewable, and everywhere. For a population squeezed by war, it was a literal lifesaver. You don't need wartime shortages to use this method now. If your home suffers from drafty walls, chilly basements, or inefficient stoves, hay, or straw, which is even denser, can make a difference. Line it behind radiators, wedge it into gaps in your walls, or even make temporary insulated panels to place over windows at night. It's not a replacement for a modern heating system, but in survival situations, emergency prep, or even a tiny cabin in the woods, it works. And unlike some modern solutions, it's entirely biodegradable, cheap, and safe. No chemicals, no wires, no risk of explosion. You just need to remember one thing. Keep it dry. Moist hay loses insulating power fast and can rot if left wet. This little trick is a perfect reminder of how resourcefulness often beats technology. World War II civilians weren't inventing the wheel. They were looking at ordinary materials in extraordinary ways. A pile of hay might seem insignificant today, but during the war, it meant survival. It's a lesson in efficiency, ingenuity, and understanding the natural properties of the world around you. There's a certain swagger in this kind of survival wisdom. It's clever, simple, and almost poetic, taking something humble, overlooked, and turning it into a weapon against the cold. That's the kind of knowledge history's survival code lives to uncover. Even if you live in a modern home, understanding this method gives you an edge. Emergency preparedness isn't just stockpiling. It's knowing how to stretch resources, adapt to conditions, and make the ordinary extraordinary. Plus, it's a fun experiment. Stack hay near a drafty wall, measure the difference, and see history work in real time. Every wartime tip like this is a reminder. Survival often depends less on power and more on insight. A little patience, observation, and clever placement can save you from freezing nights without spending a fortune on heating bills or complicated gadgets. The hay trick from World War II isn't just a quirk of history. It's a practical, time-tested survival technique that can still be applied today. From drafty apartments to tiny cabins, the idea of using natural insulation to preserve heat is timeless. History has a funny way of showing us that the simplest solutions are often the most powerful. So here's your call to action. If this inspired you, hit that subscribe button and share this video. Let others know that survival knowledge from the past isn't just a story. It's a tool, a lesson, and sometimes a lifesaver. History's survival code is here to make sure none of these secrets get forgotten, and every viewer becomes a little wiser, a little stronger, and a lot more prepared. The forgotten WWII hay trick that heated homes without firewood.